What is up? Gear Squad, Chain Gear here, and today we are talking about burnout. This is probably a little bit more of a serious topic than you're used to. I used to do a bunch of topics back in the day. I used to call it Chain Gear Speaks, and I would just speak on something that maybe wasn't completely gaming oriented. But I do want to be clear, this is gaming oriented. I think most of the time people think about burnout, they think about work. And that's not what we're talking about. But I'm assuming that most of you might actually know what the term burnout means. I'm assuming some of you have probably felt burnout. Usually it comes from if you're doing a bunch of something that you don't really want to do, and it starts draining that energy slowly or quickly. And then you reach this point where you're kind of just skating along and you're burning out. You're literally just petering out. You know, usually when you're doing something that you like to do, it kind of feeds into that energy cycle, right? It allows you to wake up excited about what you're doing. When you go to bed, you might be tired, but the tired that feels like you've accomplished something. Whereas burnout, it might be kind of like the image of a candle, just consistently going down, and there's nothing really refilling it, right? There's no wax being added to the candle. It's just constantly being burnt out. Usually games are thought of as this thing that we all truly enjoy, something that is supposed to be relaxing. You're supposed to have fun doing it, right? Is it possible to get burnt out on games? Now, if you're a Destiny player, you probably have heard this before, especially from streamers, right? You've heard, the content creator burnout, or, I've just been playing this game for so long, I'm pretty burnt out. And that's kind of what we're talking about today. Some people ask, is it possible to get burnt out on games? Again, it's a game, you're having fun, you're playing. And I think there I'd probably ask, can professional athletes get burnt out? Can streamers get burnt out? Professional esports athletes, can they get burnt out? Yes, of course they can. They do often, especially in esports, they get burnt out at a very young age. They're doing this thing that they used to love, and they're doing it over and over and over again. And it becomes a means to how they live their life day to day. But I'm not talking about streamers, YouTubers, athletes. I'm talking about you and me. I'm talking about the average gamer who is just sitting back and trying to relax on the weekend. They get home from work and they're just trying to kick back and have a good time on whatever game they feel like is going to be fun for them. I'm talking about the people who, maybe you're like me, a little unemployed, and you're trying to get as many games in as possible before you got to get back to the grind. Is it possible for us to get burnout on the games that, we supposedly love and play every day? Well, the answer is definitely yes. I wanted to talk a little bit about my story and a little bit about the possibility of, is burnout affecting you, and what are the solutions that we could put into play to maybe stop the burnout? So I realized that I was definitely burnt out on games in general, but specifically I learned that I was burnt out when I thought about playing Modern Warfare 3. The reason I found out that I was burnt out was because of the Modern Warfare 2 Battle Pass. So last season, or I guess the current season that we're in, they dropped the Spawn Battle Pass. This Battle Pass is pretty awesome. I like Spawn. I'm not like a huge fan of Spawn, but I think the aesthetic of Spawn is awesome. And there are a lot of really cool things in the Modern Warfare 2, which has now come over to Modern Warfare 3 current season pass. And I was like, oh dude, this Battle Pass is awesome. I can't wait to get through it. I always get through it. I get through it every single time. It's gonna be easy this year. Well, this year I had a lot of personal stuff go on, and this season in particular was a little harder for me. I paid for the Battle Pass, I got the Battle Pass, but I didn't beat it. And immediately I had this intense feeling of kind of like anxiety. There's this feeling in my head and even in my body a little bit that immediately told me, well, jump on right now, start grinding. And this is when I realized that I was burnt out, because instead of going, oh, all right, let's get through that Battle Pass, I went, jeez, dude, I gotta jump back on. I gotta grind out that Battle Pass. That was a really sad moment for me. And I'm sure some of you all can understand where I'm coming from. You buy something thinking that you're gonna play it. And I'm not talking about like a single player game. Let's say you buy Spider-Man, right? I bought Spider-Man Miles Morales and I just played it this week. Why? Because I didn't have time before. But I wasn't in a rush, right? Nobody was telling me I had to play it. I just played it on my own time. But this game, they have a battle pass. And this battle pass, if you don't complete it, it's gone. It goes away. So what's the problem with that? Well, immediately, there are two options for me with this battle pass. I can either pay real money to finish out the battle pass, something that I already purchased, or I could grind, effectively not making money during that time, and spend my time grinding out the battle pass. So either way, you're sacrificing your time and or money, which a lot of people think is the same thing, and you're trading that for the content that's in the game. Now, I don't think trading time or money is necessarily bad for the battle pass. If you're rich, hey, by all means, like, buy the rest of the battle pass. Who cares? It doesn't really mean that much, right? But if you aren't, and you are a little bit concerned about your money, well then, okay, now we're talking about time. Now you have to play. And this is where burnout comes in. You're playing when you don't want to play. And so little by little, that energy that you had is starting to burn out. And I got to the point where I was at the bottom. I immediately started scraping the edge of the pan, whatever you want to visualize. My energy reserves were gone. And I immediately felt anxious and stressed out, the fact that I had to play this game to get the things that I want. To be fair, I knew when I bought the battle pass that I was gonna have to put the time in to get the thing, right? That's fair. But it doesn't stop the fact that I still get this feeling of FOMO. And you've probably heard this term before, FOMO, the fear of missing out. And for Call of Duty and battle passes, FOMO is kind of the thing that's pushed. Come in, play the season now, go grind, 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 because if you don't, it's gone. Now, most of the time, I'm not too worried about FOMO, to be honest. There's only a handful of games where FOMO really kicks in and kind of grabs me. And in Call of Duty, it's interesting. I'm not having like a social FOMO moment. I'm not like, oh man, like I'm really gonna miss out. My friends are gonna make fun of me because I don't have this thing. No, no, no. I have FOMO from literally missing out on a thing that I want. I bought the battle pass because there are some really sick spawn skins and I want those skins, but I can't just buy them. I have to grind for them. And it wouldn't be grinding if I was enjoying my time playing Call of Duty, right? It would just be a fun time. But right now, none of my friends are playing Call of Duty. It's basically just me. And so right now, it's not that fun. And so I am going to miss out. And the fear of missing out is what is causing me the anxiety. It's what's causing me the burnout. So now you kind of understand where I'm coming from, and you might have felt the same thing too. Destiny 2, you've probably felt this. Gacha games, when that pull comes up and you know, might need to just put the cash in because you really want this character because they're not going to be here for much longer. Any MMO, any live service game, you've probably felt this pull of FOMO making you grind for something even when you don't want to grind at that time. So what are some better alternatives? We're not necessarily talking about solutions, but what are some of the games that do this a little bit differently? Well, even though I'm talking about Destiny 2 and FOMO, I actually think Destiny does a pretty good job on one particular space, and that is Destiny 2 seasons. When a season comes out, they don't just get rid of it the next season. They actually keep it for the entire year. And I think that that is one way to kind of deal with FOMO in a space that says, hey, listen, we know you just bought Lightfall, and maybe you got busy the first season. Maybe you got busy the second season. But if you come into the third season, you're still going to be able to play the first 2 seasons of that year. They're still there. Don't worry. You don't have to grind it all out in those 3 months. You have time. Now, I really appreciate that because there are some seasons I just stop playing. I'll play, you know, the first couple of weeks, you know, whatever dungeon or raid comes out, we grind it out. But because we grinded out the raid and the dungeon, I don't want to really burn myself out. And so I just stop playing. Now I can always come back in and finish out those things when I've got a lot more energy and I'm more excited and more people are playing the next season. And I've done that many, many times. The Season of the Deep I thought was a great season, but I just was starting to feel that, you know, a little sense of burnout, right? And I said, nope, I'm not gonna keep playing. So I left, played some other games, came back, Season of the Witch, loved it, and I cleared out the rest of my objectives for Season of the Deep. It worked out perfectly. And I really do hope that more games do that more often. Now, that's not to say that Destiny 2 is perfect. We know that at the end of the year, all of the old activities, they're gone. We don't have them anymore. Last year's activities, they don't exist unless they were there for that year, not for that season. So there were seasons that were amazing years ago, and that content no longer exists. That I wish they would do better on. But even having it for the entire year, honestly, has been much better than just having it for that small section of time like Call of Duty and its one battle pass that I just wasn't able to complete. So who else is doing a really good job? Honkai Star Rail. What? A gacha game? Chain, you hate gacha games. Listen, I hate gacha games because I know how it feels. I play gacha games. Why? Because when it's a good game, it's a good game. And I hate that. But it's true. When I play Punishing Gray Raven, when I play Honkai Star Rail, those games, they give me something that a lot of other games can't give me. And usually it's the combat, it's the presentation, it's something about that game that just feels fulfilling. The gacha mechanics I don't like, and that's because they do genuinely grab me. They make me feel that FOMO more than anything. But one thing that they don't give me FOMO about are the events. In Honkai Star Rail, I just recently played an event called Planar Infinity. It was awesome. It was so good. It was part of the simulated universe. And basically they take the simulated universe and they jack it up to like 11. It's insane. And I really, really enjoyed it. I told my roommate, I'm Taxi, you gotta play this. And he was like, I don't know, man, I actually burnt out on Honkai Star Rail and I don't really want to give it another shot. And I was like, no, I'm telling you, I really think you're gonna enjoy this game mode and it's only gonna stick around for a little while. So why don't you just try it? He's like, all right, sure, I'll jump in. He goes on and we see that the time limit is about to expire in 10 hours. So we thought that it was over. Then the next day we saw, no, it's still there. Basically, instead of punishing the player for not being there during the event, they reward the players that are there. The people that are there during the time that it first comes out, they give them extra currency. They give them things that aren't exclusive, you'll never see them again, but something that is like, hey, thanks for stopping by. Kind of like a discount, right? Like imagine if you buy Modern Warfare 3 when it first comes out, and instead of it being $70, it's $50. But if you miss out, you're gonna have to buy it for $70 later, because there's already enough people in the game, they're already happy enough, and if you want to join them, well, you have to pay a premium because everybody else that walked through the door first, they trusted us and they paid less. You'd probably pick up these games more often, right? Well, that's basically what Honkai Star Rail does for its events. It rewards you for being there on time, but if you're there late, that's okay. It's still there. You're not missing out. And I really like Honkai Star Rail for that. I've missed 3-4 events in Honkai Star Rail. I'm okay with that. There's still some really awesome events that I'm going to jump in and play, but I'm just not gonna get all those little sprinkles on top that everyone else got. And for that, I'm okay. And for that, I actually feel pretty good. So, is there anything else that we can do? What are the real solutions? Well, the first thing I wanna say is as a player, you have to start to be a little bit more mindful. For me, that's actually what happened. So I'm sitting there mindfully eating my lunch, right? No music, no video, it's just me and my food. I'm eating it and I'm enjoying it. I'm like, man, this salad's pretty good. And then my mind starts to drift and it starts to ask itself, what are you gonna do later? And I go, oh man, I really don't want to play Call of Duty, but Paddle Pass. It was that moment that I had the decision to either be mindful about how I was feeling or just go with the pull that my immediate anxiety started to push at me. Anxiety was saying, go, you have to do it. FOMO, you're gonna miss out. It's okay, you just go do it. It's not that big of a deal. But as I was being mindful of it, I realized I don't really want to do it. And if I do it, I might get more and more burnt out. So being mindful is really, really important. I think another thing that you can do is plan accordingly. When you do get a battle pass, when you do get a new season, be honest with yourself. Take a look at the calendar. Do you have time to actually complete it? Is it something that you're gonna wanna do every single day for the next X amount of days? Or do you think you can grind it out on the weekends and have fun doing it because you're not gonna be burnt out during the weekdays? And also, it's okay to ask for help. For me, I live with 2 other roommates. If I am gonna jump on and grind something and I really wanna do it, which I'm not even saying is a good idea, by the way. I don't think you should purposefully go against your gut and say, no, I'm gonna play even though I think I'm gonna get burnt out. But if it's something that you really want and you're trying to avoid burnout, ask for help. Ask your friends, ask your roommates, ask your family, whatever it might be. Say, hey, I gotta play Call of Duty. I'm scared I'm gonna get burnt out. Could you play a couple games with me? It's gonna really help. I know that sounds silly or it sounds small, but I have a Discord full of tons of people. Link in the description. And I could ask them at any time, does anybody in this Discord want to play Call of Duty with me? Just one person. It'll help me a little bit get through the grind. And if one person says yes, sometimes that makes all the difference. So help each other out, work together. And hey, honestly, at this point, I think it even might make sense to create a shared account, or if there's someone you're really close with, these gacha games, play them with your friends. Instead of having 3 different accounts, just have one account and just have you and your friends play the same account. Only play the story when you're all together. Grind out whenever you guys can, but at least you're like taking turns. That's what me and Phoenix decided to do with Punishing Gray Raven. Instead of saying we're gonna play at the same time, we decided to just say, hey, let's just all play the same account. If there's something we really want to play together, the story's all there. We can play it at any time. But instead of both of us paying for the same character every time, or effectively cutting that cost in half if we want the character at all. So think about that. Those are some of the solutions I think you can do as a player. But I think it's more important to realize what the industry and what the community could do together. Let's focus on the community really quick, because I think this is going to be easy. And it's really just not feeding into the FOMO. Don't make fun of your friends. Don't be inside of the community and say, ha, you missed out on this skin, or I'm better than you, or whatever. I'm not saying you shouldn't feel, pride in the fact that you have a certain item that, you think is really cool. But the fact that other people don't have it because they missed out, that is probably not a good thing for us to start feeding into. Now, I'm not saying that we can't have things that distinguish people from others, right? I have been advocating forever to have an item in Destiny that says, hey, this person has gone flawless X amount of times. This person is this rank in comp. I want to see those types of things that distinguish that player. But that's aspirational content. That's something that anyone can achieve if they're good enough and grind it out. But there's no time limit on that. That's something that you can decide you want to do if that thing is interesting to you, comparatively to saying, hey, you got a time limit, decide, go, 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 FOMO. So let's try and put our energy into the right spaces. Instead of pushing for things like, oh, I got this and you didn't because I was there and you weren't. We don't really want to keep doing that as the game gets longer and longer. Instead, we want to open it up to more and more people. And I think that as a community, if we can keep pushing that narrative, I think it'll really change things for everyone. But industry is really where most of this stuff can change. And you guys have to make sure that your voice is heard. We all need to make sure that our voices are heard on this. So wherever you can, speak out on this when you can in a kind and, of course, good way. We have to start asking and being clear to developers and publishers that we don't want to see things that only last for 3 months. We'd like to have more time to complete our objectives. So just like Destiny has their seasons and they stay for the whole year, wouldn't it be nice if Call of Duty just kept their battle passes? Now, I'm not saying that we have to keep every single one, though I have heard there are games that keep their battle passes forever, but at least give us a year to complete any battle pass that we bought during that year. I think years are good because that's usually how we kind of distinctly break down our own timelines, right? As we have 1 year, and at the end of that year, we're starting a new one. It's a big thing. Well, I think we can do the same thing here, right? Is say, okay, within a year, let us try and complete those battle passes. Stop trying to cancel us out. I think the reason they do it is because they are making money on the back end there, right? Is that you can pay to complete your battle pass. But if we're not going to buy into it and we say that this is really what we want, who knows? Maybe that's something that we can change. Also, the other thing that they can do is stop farming the FOMO. That's exactly what I was saying before, is stop farming the fact that we are scared about missing something. Instead, reward people for being there at the right time. If you want to add something, a fear for people to jump in and get something, add a currency, right? Make it a currency or a kickback or a discount. Those types of things are rewarding players for trusting you, the developer, comparatively to being afraid. And I think that that is probably a better reward structure. Okay, this video is already getting long enough. So what do you all think? Have you ever had burnout in a game before? Are you burning out right now? And what have you done to counteract that? Let me know in the comment section down below. Guys, thank you so much. I appreciate this. I haven't done a long form content video like this in a while. I hope you like it. If you have any thoughts, comments down below. Other than that, I'll see you guys online. And of course, catch you in the next one. Peace.